So there is a new California mileage tax, and there's also an update to the California sex offender law. And Hunter Biden's trial is now starting soon. More of this in this episode of RepubliKen Talks. So, according to the media reports, there is an increasing number of EVs on the road, and in the state of California, it's causing a dent in the state's budget. Now, I'm glad this is happening. I'm kind of happy it's happening, because you know that saying, like, be careful what you wish? California's been wanting this. They've pledged that they'd get rid of all gas vehicles. Gas-powered vehicles are going to be a thing of the past. They've been wanting this for a very long time, and now it's biting them in the butt. Now they're suffering. But it's not like they're really suffering, okay? This is just a mismanagement of money, in my opinion. The state charges $300 a year as gasoline tax for its ICE-powered vehicles, while EVs just pay an annual $100 registration fee, which I hate registrations. I don't think you should have to register your car, in my opinion. I think that's just completely stupid. So you know cigarettes are taxed. In New York, you'll have a $4 carton of cigarettes, but you end up paying like $12 for it because there's like a 300% tax. Or you know how Biden proposed a 1,000% tax on any semi-automatic rifle purchase? This is the same way. Gas is taxed in the same manner. So, for example, in the two states I lived in North Carolina and New York, the two gas the two gas taxes we pay is 25 cents in New York and 38 cents in North Carolina. Those are the two prices that we pay. So in California, it's 60. It's 59.6 or something like that. It's 59.6 cents. That's how much you have to pay for every gallon of gas you buy. Let's just say your car takes 40 gallons of gas to fill up. It takes 40 gallons of gas. If you're going to fill up your car, it's going to cost you not only the however much money it takes to fill it up, but you're going to be paying $23 in taxes on top of that. Let's say you are in New York, you're going to pay $10 for 40 gallons of gas, and in North Carolina, you're going to be paying $15. Now, the result of these EVs becoming more popular, because this is exactly what they wanted to fix the climate change issue, so they implemented EVs. So, as a result, this resulted in a major debt in funds collected, as you can imagine, used for road maintenance. Hence, the state has decided to replace their gasoline tax with a new mileage-based tax system. So, what this new thing is implementing, this new law, it's not going to add on top. Some people are thinking that if you pay gas tax and you're paying this mileage tax, you're going to have both combined. You're going to be paying like $103 every time you do anything. That's not the case. Okay, what they're doing here is they're just going to replace the gas tax altogether with this even worse and more radical thing. Don't you love when politicians screw over their people over stupid stuff? I mean, if you look at California, in my opinion, in California, they should just tax college endowments. I've always been an advocate, and I've always pushed for governments to tax endowments of the colleges. Start charging them taxes, because that is going to help in the long run. When you charge taxes for the endowments, for example, you have that pyramid college in California. It's called Long Beach, the University of Long Beach or whatever. So that college gets like $122 million of endowments every single year. So why not tax them? No, we're going to do a mileage tax where we're going to charge you 4 cents for every mile you drive. As per officials, the state recorded 1.1 million electric cars and 1.3 million hybrid cars back in 2022. Lauren Pihota, spokesperson for Caltrans, or the California Department of Transportation, for those of you who don't know, mentioned that an annual cost of maintaining California's road network is around $8.5 billion. Keep that in mind. $8.5 billion. And that has vast majority of it the vast majority of it comes from gas taxes, gasoline taxes. So for me to illustrate this for you, Texas, that's the second biggest state in the United States, next to Alaska. Alaska's the biggest. And Texas, it takes $18 billion to maintain the roads every year. That's how much their Department of Transportation charges, and that's how much they put into the roads in their state. Okay? And by the way, Texas's gas tax is lower than all 3 states I just mentioned. Texas only charges 20 cents. 20. Okay, that is impressive. They're able to pay $18 billion to maintain the roads, and they only charge 20 cents. So why can't California do it? Well, because they're Democrats and they suck at their jobs. That's why. Now, you might be saying to yourself, oh, but Texas population is smaller than California's population. That's why they can't handle it, because there's more people driving on the roads and the roads get wrecked more. No, that's not the case. Okay, there's only 9 million less people in Texas than in California. And if you really think that those 9 people are the ones making it, so they can't afford it that well, they're wrecking the roads that badly, is just ridiculous. It is just asinine to me that's the argument here. Come on now. So Lauren stated, on average, Californication, they pay about $300 a year in state taxes. Now, press X to doubt, because I don't think that's true at all. There's no way people are only paying $300 in gas tax. We just mentioned that it's $23 for every time you use 40 gallons of gas. For every time you buy 40 gallons of gas, you're paying $23. Now, I don't know about you, but I buy about 40 gallons of gas every week. And I only drive a mile to work. My work's literally right down the road from my house. And I use about 40 gallons of gas every week. Plus whatever you're doing outside of work. So, the idea that you're going to say that Californians pay $300, I doubt that completely. What I think they're measuring this by is they're measuring it by the entire population of California instead of the entire driving population of California, like they should do. What they should do is they should measure that by the driving population who drives gas vehicles. Because, of course, a person who doesn't use gas is not going to spend money on gas. That's just common sense. EVs have a $100 annual registration fee. Another thing that they should get rid of, registering your car, is just stupid in my opinion. That's a $200 million a year loss. So we're losing $2 million a year. Oh no, womp. As per the new system, California road charges will record the numbers of miles driven annually by motorists and tax them accordingly. oh, that sounds great. I couldn't see how this could possibly go wrong. Sounds great to me. Take that deal. I take that deal. Can't see how this could go wrong. The exact rate for the same throughout. The exact rate of the same through is yet to be fixed. So they don't have a designated tax rate yet for this interaction. However, the cost simulator lists 3 options: 2 cents, 3 cents, and 4 cents per mile. So let's do the math, guys. So let's just say that your car runs 25 miles per gallon. For every gallon, you have 25 miles you can drive. Let's just say it's $4, or the 4 cents per mile thing. You're going to be charged $1 for every gallon of gas you use. So as I was saying, so when your tank runs empty, let's say you have 40 gallons of gas in your car. Let's say your tank runs empty. You're paying $1 per time you use a gallon. So you're paying $40 in this tax. So now you're paying more in this new mileage tax than you were originally with the initial gasoline tax. Does this seem messed up to anyone? Or is it just me? Now you're now paying more in taxes. Now I use the 4 cents per mile. If you use the 2 cents per mile and you just cut it in half, you're still paying just about the same as well. How you would for gasoline tax. And do you think that when your tire comes off because you hit a pothole in the road, the state's going to fix it? Nope. Ahead of the introduction of the new tax system for motorists, the state has announced the start of the pilot program for the same. The pilot program is scheduled to start August of 2024, with officials selecting unspecified number of applicants in July. Now you can volunteer to be taxed even more than you already are. Yay! Those who want to be part of this particular program can sign up for the same on the California Road Charge website. The participants will be asked to take a monthly road charge payment between August and January of 2025. So from August 2025 to January 2025. And after which they will need to fill 2 surveys of their experience. And they're probably also going to be asked to tip for some reason. Probably. I just pretty sure that's how it's going to work. The state will also refund participants gasoline and EV registration fee at the end of the program. In addition, they will also give participants $400 in gift cards, or $400 gift cards. So they can't afford to fix the roads because of the lack of gasoline tax, but they can and they will give you $400 gift cards, all willy-nilly. Weird. The data gathered at the end of the pilot program will help lawmakers determine whether or not the state should replace the gasoline tax. I am so glad I do not live in California. All right, more news. Moving on. California sex offenders. So this is a thing that happened recently. California Governor Gavin Newsom on Friday signed a law that would give judges a say on whether to list someone as a sex offender after having anal or oral sex with a minor. Now, here's the weird thing about that. They said it's oral and anal sex, like, oh, you're having sex with a kid. When they should say raping a kid, because that's what it is. Because kids can't consent. And now we're just going to let judges decide if people who have had sex with children should be registered as sex offenders. That just sounds kind of messed up. I think everybody should just be registered as a sex offender if you are guilty of having sex with a kid. That's just, I didn't think that was a partisan issue. I guess it is. The bill will expand the discretion currently granted judges in statutory rape cases and was promoted as bringing fairness under LGBTQ defendants. While the LGBTQ community, and so you should have just started with that, honestly. You really should have. Because, like, if I knew you were doing this to help the LGBT community, I would have been on board from the start. I love supporting the LGBT community so much that I would love to see LGBTQ people not get charged for crimes that they committed. I would love it if gay people didn't become registered sex offenders after having sex with kids. I love this idea. What a great thing. What a great state to live in. Really, though, like, see how bad this looks on the gay community? And it's going to get worse later as we go on. But you're insinuating that people who are gay are usually pedophiles, which is true. Gay people are more likely to be pedophiles than any other sexual orientation on the planet. Per capita, they make up more of the pedophiles. It's just how it is. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. The current law, placed for decades, permits judges to decide whether a man should be placed on the California Sex Offender Registry if he had voluntary sex or intercourse with someone 14 to 17 years old and was no more than 10 years older than the person. So, I never understood this. Yes, anyone who has sex with a child should be put on the registration list. I don't care if you're 18 and she's 16, you're a pedophile. I don't care. I don't care if you're 20 and she's 17. If you have sex with a child, or also known as rape, with a child, I don't think it matters. You should be registered as a sex offender. Like, judges aren't sitting here going, okay, if you're a murderer, and it's proven that you've murdered somebody, I can pick and decide whether or not you're a murderer. Even if it's proven that you did it, you're not a murderer. Judges shouldn't have that authority. That's stupid. Just never understood this. Now, this is just putting more children at risk. This is just going to put more children at risk than they already are, which pedophiles are just insanely under-punished for their crimes. Let's be real. Here's some statistics for you. So multiple studies have found that the average pedophile has molested over 300 children in his or her lifetime. That's average. That's messed up, in my opinion. Okay, that's 50 times more than the average person has sexual partners throughout their life. An average person that you might meet on a day-to-day basis, most people have, the average person has slept with 6 people in their lifetime. And the average child molester has molested and raped 300 children. That's 50 times more. That's ridiculous. So anytime you don't convict a pedophile and don't register as a sex offender, you are basically endangering 300 people, 300 children, and ruining their futures. Sex offenders, this is the second fact, sex offenders are at least 4 times more likely than other criminals to be rearrested for a sex crime. So not only are we seeing that they're molesting and raping kids, a lot of them, but they're reoffending after they've already been convicted. Which means that we need to do a better job on punishing these guys and taking care of them. Third, of the released sex offenders who have committed another sex crime, 40% perpetrated the new offense within 1 year of their prison discharge. So not only did they not learn their lesson and not get punished for it, but they're doing it right after they get let out. And studies suggest, this is the last fact, studies suggest that convicted sex offenders in prison represent less than 10% of all sex offenders living in the United States. So 10% of all registered sex offenders are the only ones in prison. 10%. Does anyone else think that's weird, odd, and scary? Does anyone else have an issue with that? Because I do. This is a disgusting law to pass. And the reason why it gets passed is even worse. But that discretion only applied to a man who had vaginal intercourse. Because as we all know, raping female children isn't that bad. The law was passed where if a man had vaginal intercourse with a 14 to 17-year-old, and they're no older than 10 years old, 10 years older than the person they victimized, then it is completely fine, and you don't have to register as a sex offender even though you are. The new change permits judges to use the same discretion when it involves voluntary, oral, or anal sex, which, ew. You can now assault children in more ways than one. Hooray, I guess. If you get the right judge, you can get away with it, too. Also, this is stupid. I don't know what they're trying to achieve with this, but anal and oral sex puts the person at even more risk, and it spreads more disease that way. I think all of them, instead of lowering the crime and saying that it's okay to do it, basically, and saying that, it's less wrong, instead of doing that, how about we just give all of them death? If you have sex with a child at all, no matter what your age is, you just die. That is my idea. I don't see anything wrong with that. Why can't we just kill them? Makes no sense to me. Why we sit here and go, oh, it's okay, it's okay. It's not. The measure won't apply when the minor is under the age of 14, which at least they have some standards. When the age gap is larger than 10 years, which I don't understand why the age gap is a big issue. It shouldn't be. I don't think it should be. Or when the party has the sex hasn't, or when either party wasn't or when either party says the sex wasn't consensual. So what do you mean by that? Are you suggesting that the adult who raped the child may not have consented to raping the child? Are you alluding to the fact that the child might be the one victimizing the adult here? Is that what you're alluding to? Because if that's the case, that's freaking messed up. That is terrible. Also, I hate the idea that it's like you're allowing these children to give consent when that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case at all. You should not allow children at this idea that you could give consent. Children cannot give consent. I don't care what you think. The bill is introduced by the state senator, Scott Wiener, a San Francisco Democrat. The law ends discrimination by treating the LGBTQ young people the exact same way that straight young people have been treated since 1944. Hooray! Wiener said in a statement, adding, "Today, California took another yet another step forward in an equitable society. Ah, yes. That's exactly what the Founder Fathers wanted. Really. Life, liberty, and the pursuit to assault children. Like straight people can. All men and women are created equal, including the gays. The gays can also rape and molest children just like straight people. That's what America's about, baby. That's the real stuff that George Washington wants in his country. Equality California, this is a radically gay nonprofit group. Radically gay. Like they're all about everything gay. They're all about everything gay. This is something that was said on their website. We are fighting for full lived LGBTQ equality in a number of ways. Passing pro-equality legislation, electing pro-equality leaders, fighting for civil rights in the courtroom, reducing disciplinaries in LGBTQ plus health and well-being, development pipelines of the LGBTQ plus leaders, and civic participations within the LGBTQ community. So that's their quote. That's something that they've mentioned on their own website. You can look it up. So these guys co-sponsor the bill with the Los Angeles County District Attorney Office. They also applaud Newsom's signing. If we want a California for all, then we need a justice system that treats all Californians fairly and equally. Which doesn't make sense because the gay people would have also been treated the same as the straight men. Because the law in place wasn't that if you're a straight man that rapes a child, you get to not register as a sex offender. But if you're a gay man who assaults a female child, you don't get to not register as a sex offender. The law in place was if you have vaginal penetration with a female child and you're within a certain age range, you don't always have to register as a sex offender, which is a stupid law, but that's the law. There's nowhere in the law that says that gay people who do the same thing will get punished. The reason why gay people were getting punished harsher is because anal penetration is much more dangerous. Even consensual anal penetration is dangerous. There's not really a safe way to do that. There's always a risk when doing that. And that is the punishment. Saying that gay people weren't equally treated doesn't make a lot of sense in this situation, because they would have been treated equally if they did the equal crime. But they're not. So where was I? Regardless of who they are, and what they look like or whom they love. So that's another quote from these people. So they're saying that they should be given equality regardless of who they love. This probably includes children as well. Let's be real. Executive Director Rick Chavez said in the statement released by Wiener's office, the bill passed the Assembly and Senate on split votes, with some members objecting to what they saw as easing punishments to those who have sex with minors. Because it is. I cannot, in my mind, as a mother, understand how sex between a 24-year-old and a 14-year-old could ever be consensual. I agree. How it could ever be not registerable as an offense. Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, she's another Democrat from San Diego, said that before the bill passed. We should never give up on the idea that children should be in no way subject to a predator. Online critics have falsely blasted the measure as legalizing pedophilia. This statement is kind of stupid because in this article alone, you've already made multiple cases defending pedophilia. In multiple cases. Because if you're going to lessen... So here's the thing. If you're going to lessen the punishment for a certain crime, you support that crime to a certain degree. You think to a certain degree that that crime is justifiable in the right circumstances. If you didn't think the law or that crime was somewhat justified, then you wouldn't pass these laws. No one's passing the law that you should be allowed to abuse your animals because you can't justify the abusing of animals. You shouldn't be allowed to justify the abuse of children either, but I guess some people think differently than I do. Last story of the day. Hunter Biden. Last week, Donald Trump... So this is the story about Hunter Biden. This article comes from the Daily Wire. Last week, Donald Trump, Biden's chief political opponent, was convicted on 34 felony accounts. And it is still super unclear what those felony charges and felony accounts even were, because there is no specific crime that was brought up. Nothing was specifically brought up within this trial. And Joe Biden said that the justice system had worked. Any talk about the justice system not working was undermining democracy and was undermining our institutions. But now Joe Biden's son, Hunter, is in the dock in Wilmington, Delaware, on federal gun charges because it turns out that he pretty clearly lied on his gun registration form when he went to buy a gun. So this happened in 2018. So this case is pretty open and shut. So basically, what happened here is that Hunter Biden, the smartest guy that Joe Biden knows, bought a buy-by stick and lied on the gun registration form. He said that he was not addicted to drugs when it was very clear that he is addicted to drugs. He even admitted it in his own memoir, released in 2021, I think it was. And not only did he lie on his registration form, but he also violated the Gun Act, the Gun Control Act of 1968, which states that if you're on drugs or you have drugs in your possession, you're not allowed to have a firearm. If you're a consistent drug user, you're not allowed to own guns at all. So, there's no justification for this. Hunter Biden's open shut case. This should be super easy, but it gets even better. He clearly was a drug addict. He lied on his forms about being a drug addict. So we have a crime here that Hunter's clearly committed. Unlike the Trump case where the crime was unclear, we don't know what the crime was. Plus, it's kind of hard for Trump to prove something that didn't happen. He can't disprove something that didn't happen. It's kind of hard to do that. All that culminated in a situation which his girlfriend, who at the time was his brother's widow, so Beau Biden's widow, was involved in this situation, which is super weird because Hunter Biden is dating, or was dating, Beau Biden's wife. That's super weird. This, as we all know, is the best way to handle a firearm, by the way. So she drove it over to a local store and tossed the registered gun in a trash can. I don't see how that could possibly go wrong. That's we all know that's the best way to handle a firearm, If you don't feel safe with somebody owning a certain firearm, you don't take it to the police. What you're going to do is you're just going to throw it in some random trash can somewhere and hope no one finds it. That's what you're actually going to do. That is the good thing to do, actually. you actually want to throw it in some random trash can. While it's loaded, by the way. This could have gone so badly, by the way. Could you imagine? So she throws the gun in a trash can. Could you imagine if someone found that gun, took it, and like started to shoot up some place with it? The gun still registered to Hunter Biden, and that could have gone so badly. I don't understand the thought process here. That was pretty stupid on her part. The Secret Service tried to cover it up. As you recall, this was looked into by Joe Biden's DOJ. There are whistleblowers who came forward alleging that Joe Biden's DOJ had essentially hamstrung prosecutors from investigating Hunter Biden's involvement with his father, Joe, and went out of their way to cut from some sort of deal to close tax case that also being investigated against Hunter Biden. So there's a full-scale tax investigation going on, and the whistleblowers came forward and they said that Joe Biden's DOJ had basically were told to look the other way, basically. They're told to ignore it. They also did this with Biden's many crimes as well. They know he's committed crimes and they don't want to charge him and say that he's guilty for anything, even though he is. They make claims that he's like not fit for trial. But if he's not fit for trial, then he's not fit to be president either. Can we agree on that? Could we agree that if he's not fit for trial, he's not fit for re-election either? Because I think that's how it should be. This all came to a head when it turned out that the DOJ tried to cut a sweetheart deal with Hunter Biden, wherein he would essentially be directed to rehab for his drug problem, but as a part of the plea agreement, all of the charges would simply go away. They would randomly be dismissed. The judges in that particular case looked at this plea agreement and said, this makes no sense. How is this okay? I never understood that, by the way, how the court system works like that. Instead of just sending somebody to jail for their crimes, you like negotiate with them like they're a toddler. Like, hey there, champ, if you're a good boy at the store, I'll get you a lollipop. Like, I don't get that at all. Why is it my job to excuse them on the tax charges because you are trying to sign some sort of agreement with him on the drug charges? She asked the prosecution if they were actually freeing him up on the tax charges. They said no. The defense then said, if you are not freeing him up on the tax charges, then we are not going to take the deal. So it's basically that I'm going to take my ball and go home thing going on here. We're not going to plead guilty in any way if you are not going to free him up on the tax charges. That doesn't sound corrupt at all. Nope, I don't see any problem with this. If you convict him with a crime that he committed, we will not plead guilty. They're essentially threatening the judge to bend to their will, which is super weird, seeing that this is the president's son. The prosecution and the defense had essentially gotten together and decided to try to sneak one past the judge. The judge said no, and the whole thing blew up, and that's how you end up with the prosecution of Wilmington, Delaware, on these gun charges. This is an open and shut case. It's obvious that Hunter Biden lied on his drug forms, on his federal gun forms. The Wall Street Journal reported on Friday evening in October 2018 that Hunter Biden rolled up in a Cadillac in a StarQuest shooters and survival supply in Delaware City. In the Delaware City, where he had been born and raised. Then the salesman standing in the window did not initially recognize him as the son of the longtime Democratic senator. Now President Biden, and would later call a declining tip. So he tried to tip the person he's buying the firearm from. Hunter is clearly guilty. Everyone in his family knew that he was a drug addict. Hunter Biden's defense is going to try to blame the gun shop. They're going to say that they should have known he was lying then, which is a ridiculous statement because Hunter Biden was not a well-known figure at the time. It was not very common knowledge back then that Hunter Biden was this crack addict and everyone knew about it. That wasn't a known thing back then. Is it better for Joe Biden's campaign if Hunter is convicted or if he's acquitted? If Hunter Biden is acquitted, everyone is going to see this for what it is, which is that the DOJ tried to cut a sweetheart deal with Joe Biden's son, and they failed when the judge called them out on it. Then they bring the prosecution in a jurisdiction that is the most favorable jurisdiction in human history for the defendant, and then either Hunter gets acquitted or there's a hung jury. Does that look like it's a justice system that's working on the behalf of the people? Does this really sound like what Joe Biden said about Donald Trump, that no one is above the law? I'll give you my thoughts. So I think this will help Trump in the long run. So remember in 2020 when a bunch of people were voting for Biden because he wasn't Trump? So this is the same thing. This is just going to help Trump more because during that, when people were interviewed, a lot of people said that they would have not voted for Biden if they knew about the Hunter Biden scandal. So I think this is just going to go even more in Trump's favor. Because all those people who said they wouldn't vote for Trump because of the Hunter Biden scandal are definitely not going to vote for Trump because of the Hunter Biden scandal now. And many more people will also not vote for Biden over the Hunter Biden scandal. All right, and that is the end of my show. If you liked it, please give it a like, comment, give me your thoughts down below. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel. I post things pretty frequently. I try to do it daily. Sometimes I don't always post daily, though. But anyway, I will see you guys later. Peace.